6 months ago, Britain handed over the Chagos Islands to Mauritius in what the government called a fair, affordable deal. We were told it would cost £3.4 billion over a century. But now, after a fresh revaluation buried in official papers, we know the truth. The real price tag is closer to £35 billion. This isn't about the deal itself anymore. It's about why the public were given one number, while the government's own figures told a very different story. The Chagos Islands are a tiny British overseas territory in the Indian Ocean, strategic, remote and home to Diego Garcia, one of the most important military bases in the world, a base we share with the Americans. Back in February, Keir Starmer's government agreed to hand sovereignty of the islands to Mauritius, while Britain would keep using Diego Garcia in exchange for an annual payment. At the time, Starmer told Parliament the deal would cost £3.4 billion over the next century, but this new revaluation, obtained through a Freedom of Information request, shows the government's own internal estimate was £34.7 billion. That's 10 times higher than what the Prime Minister claimed. So, how do you turn £35 billion into £3 billion? Well, it's with an accountancy method called the social time preference rate. This is a Treasury trick for discounting future costs, making long-term bills look much smaller when converted to today's money. That can be legitimate in certain projects. But here's the problem. Labour didn't use this method when announcing Angela Rayner's housing plan or other domestic projects. Critics say this wasn't about financial accuracy. It was about political optics. Now, this isn't just about the money. Britain has given away sovereignty of a military asset we've controlled for decades, yet we're still paying to use it. We've lost ownership, but we've kept the bill. Supporters say it's about keeping NATO happy and the Americans are on board. But if it's such a great deal, why the creative accounting? Critics like Priti Patel call it a strategic surrender, and Kemi Badenoch summed it up bluntly. When Labour negotiates, Britain loses. Let's put it into context. Labour's already accused of leaving a £50 billion black hole in the public finances. We've got record inflation, a cost of living crisis, Green Deal overspending, HS2 overruns and immigration costs spiralling. Now add a £35 billion overseas commitment for an island chain 6,000 miles away. It's not just bad optics, it's a political gift to the opposition. It makes Labour look both financially reckless and strategically naive. Labour's defence is this. The annual cost is only £101 million, less than 0.2% of the defence budget. They argue the net present value, £3.4 billion, is standard for Treasury calculations, and that Diego Garcia's strategic importance justifies it. They've also pointed out that our closest allies, the US, Canada, Australia, fully support the agreement. But here's the thing. Politics isn't just about what's technically true. It's about what the public believe and understand. And the public now see this as another example of a government telling one story in public and another in private. So let's start being honest with the British public. And if you're confident in the deal, be confident enough to give the real headline cost, not hide behind an obscure accounting formula most voters have never heard of. So here's where we end up. Britain gives away territory, keeps paying billions to use what we gave away. The true cost is buried in accountancy jargon. When Starmer said the deal would cost £3.4 billion, he was technically correct by Treasury rules. But in the real world, where most people measure their bills in actual pounds and pence, it's closer to £35 billion. And if this is how the government handles the Chagos Islands revaluation, the question is, what other numbers are being massaged before they reach the public? If you think the public deserves the real numbers, not watered-down figures buried in government spreadsheets, and then don't let this story die here. Hit like so it gets seen, share it so more people know the truth about the Chagos revaluation, and drop a comment below. Do you think this was clever negotiation or a £35 billion sellout? And if you want to make sure you hear the stories they'd rather you didn't, subscribe and hit that notification bell, because this won't be the last time I follow the money.